All right, given that we're at 5 after the hour, I think it's probably a good time for us to get started for today's workshop. So I'm going to open with a thank you to everybody who came, um, and a warning that Reverend Silver is on a well-deserved vacation, so I'm going to be running the show today. Um, I know everybody's very disappointed by that, I'm sure, but I think I can keep us going just fine. I want to extend a thank you on behalf of, Reverend Silver and myself to everybody who did some hard work organizing to get out the vote and who went and manned the polls and who even just went to vote. Civic engagement starts there a lot of the time, and it's very important for us as people of faith to make our voices heard in a positive way in the wider society in which we live. So that being said, that's the only real announcement I have off the top. I want to offer Robin a chance if there's anything from the IPL side that's worth mentioning before we get launched into our discussion of community science. But once we're through with that, we can hand it over to Ariel, and she will take us through our slide presentation for today and give us the basics on community science. So Robin, if there's anything you want to add, feel free to hop in. Okay, well, seeing nothing, I'm going to take that as a sign that there's nothing to report and offer the floor over to Ariel to get us started. So Ariel, without any further ado, take us away.
Hi, thank you, John. Hello, everybody. Apologies in advance. My video has been acting up all day, so I am just going to keep it off for the sake of just concentration. Hello, welcome. This is our community science workshop. Thank you for coming. As John already mentioned, this would be the last workshop on the center side, the Center for Community Engagement, Environmental Justice and Health. For those who are now joining, welcome. For those who have already been coming, welcome back. My name is Ariel. I am a faculty assistant within the center. I focus on, a lot of my work revolves around community engagement, climate change, and environmental justice, of course, and air quality projects, and a lot of the communication related projects as well. So without further ado, I guess this workshop is kind of going to be one meant to just focus on the community aspect of the actual initiative. So we've discussed the issue, we've discussed what we want to do about the issue, we've discussed the tools that can help us attend to this issue and what can happen after. So for example, we've discussed wanting to monitor air quality measurements within different communities, mapping tools, air quality monitoring sensors that can be able to detect these different particles in the air, the need for more air quality monitoring sensors within communities to not only detect and help progress change, but also help people know, help communities be able to understand what's happening around them, what's happening in your community, what's happening down your street. So just an overall great initiative to be a part of. We're happy for everybody to be on this call, to just be eager to move forward. And yeah, without further ado, I will start the presentation. Right. Can you all see clearly?
Yep, looks great.
Okay, great. Okay, so as I mentioned, this workshop will be focused on community science. So I just want everybody to have just a quick thought. This is a quick question to kind of open your thoughts surrounding the topic before we dive in. What is your definition of community science, or what do you know about it? And if you don't know much about it, that's okay. What do you think it can potentially be? And I know many of you are very active, so I feel as if this question, you already know the answer to it. And of course, everything's welcome. So feel free to unmute your mic, and yeah, just shout it out at me.
Well, I would say an easy definition is community science is science done by and for the benefit of the community.
Yeah, I mean, that is really succinct and to the point. Yes, exactly. Thank you for that, John. Definitely. So on this, for this presentation, sorry, we have an agenda. And within this agenda, we're going to discuss how public communities can take on the role in scientific data collection. We have discussed this in other workshops. However, again, I kind of wanted to kind of stress on the importance of community science and the contributions that can grow out of different communities surrounding these different processes. So we're also going to discuss different types of community science work and contributions, what's happening in different organizations, what you can also be a part of, any other initiatives that you might be interested in, or other groups that have been occurring. You know, we have some resources and some links that you can probably check out. Additionally, we speak on how to get involved in community science and how members can become community members, sorry, can become active scientists. And of course, you know, we'll speak on, which we've kind of already been speaking on, how we begin an air quality community science initiative. So what is community science? Community science refers to, as John clearly said, refers to work and research done revolving around environmental health by those of the general public. So not just environmental health workers, not researchers, not scientists and such, but it is for everyone, and the everyday person. Community science allows for a broad range of contributions because participation is not limited as it may be in other traditional science fields. So one great thing about community science as well is that anybody could do it with proper, you know, exposure and training. You know, generally it allows for a wide range of ages and for people with different abilities to apply themselves and, you know, again, become scientists within their own spaces. So there are many pros to community science, pros of community science, I should say. Once
Hey, Erin,
again,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm
We're
sorry.
still looking at the cover page of the presentation.
Oh, strange. Oh,
Just
wow.
give you a heads up before you got too far in.
You see how my thing loves to embarrass me. Okay, sorry, 1 second. Let me stop sharing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no
That
problem.
is so strange. Okay. Okay, so I'm wondering if I should go back. Okay, I'll just start from here. So community, as I mentioned, community science allows for a vaster amount of data collection. And it also gives a way to intersect the general public into the scientific process. So with that being said, more data collection may equate to more studies published, more problems being solved, more hypotheses and theories that can be tested that can essentially just move different spaces forward that working in a lab can simply not. The range of work for most individuals wanting to get involved is extremely vast, as I've also mentioned. So there's something for everyone. So some examples of work within community science could be collecting weather or air quality data with sensors, disease tracking, even COVID, habitat restoration, local water monitoring, and the list goes on, as different areas provide different ecosystems, habitats, and healthy quality. Community science work and activities vary across the globe. So for example, I know some people have weather trackers in their home, or pressure anemometers in their home, or weather systems. I think it's, I'm sorry, the name is escaping me. But what you're doing is you're collecting data and you're also inputting it into a a bigger, let's say, pot of data that's just being absorbed within a bigger company, and that's being used to essentially compare it to different models that a computer may be exporting. So it's great for comparison, and the more data, the better. So as I mentioned, we will provide some different links, different resources of different spaces where community science is growing. If you want to get involved, these are here for you. These consist of different projects that can match, again, multiple interests and location, as well as other potentially useful links that can allow you to get involved wherever you are. So these are just a few, of course, the sky's the limit. You can also just do a quick Google search. But sometimes it might be easier to kind of provide some resources so that you don't have to do the heavy lifting and searching. As usual, John will send out this presentation, so you guys will have the links to click on. So there are key aspects of a community science-based initiative. So now that we know what community science is, how important it is, actually, the types of work involved and more, it is key to understand what aspects are important inside an initiative. There are way more than one may actually think. Oftentimes, a community may work alongside another organization or create partnerships to expand. One can also join an existing organization, or community to get involved. So for example, we are all coming together to put our heads together, put our hands together, put everything together to push this initiative forward as a community. So, we are expanding through our partnerships and through your partnerships to for the better good. So I just wanted to kind of give a definition of what a community can be. It can be various things. It can be an online community of people passionate for a cause. A community can be people in a local area that may suffer environmentally, or it could be a community in which people experience different health disparities. These areas may be more in need for an initiative than a place with less issues or troubles. So I wanted to have a simple breakdown of community involvement for just a better grasp and for an understanding of it. There are three different stages within community involvement. So the first one would be input. This is the initiation and startup phase of the initiative, and it requires input of community leaders and representatives. So these are thoughts, concerns, discussions surrounding what is happening, what is the issue what are the issues that need to be attended to, what can happen, So this is when people come together and discuss what is happening. The next would be the process. So community engagement by a community being involved in the process of community-based work. So example, this is partially where everybody will come in, I should say. We'll all come together and start moving forward on how we're going to be involved. What exactly does it mean for us to be a part of this project, and what can we do? And then the outcome. So community involvement is determining the outcome of the research. So the process space would be gathering of the data, us all installing the monitors, you being a part of this initiative, you being actively a part of the monitoring process, and knowing what the data is for, knowing what it will be for, and that will eventually lead to the outcome where we use this data to essentially push forward environmental justice within communities. So when it comes to an initiative, everybody involved has to center around a target goal. So although this sounds very simple, if a community cannot agree on an initiative, which a lot of the times that may happen because naturally we all do have different minds, we have all different morals, we come from different spaces. You kind of want to work on figure out how everyone can work hand in hand, communicate and be productive while also being cordial and respectful. You also have to think about how partnerships can be made. You have to think about also disagreements, but it's always important to ensure that there is a common goal, a target goal. So a community having goals brings unity, and that allows for more productivity, and it can also help with partnerships and funding and so much more.
Could you give us a couple of examples just offhand? Because I think we have a good idea of what it means for like air quality monitoring, but for broader projects with different focuses. I think it would just be helpful to conceptualize it,
Okay, so yeah, no problem. I can actually give you, without giving too many details, we are actually in discussion with another community. There is an industrial plant that is in the center of their town. And essentially, we wanted to have discussions surrounding the air quality and such, what is happening. But this town is located on a river. And so that some of the residents, that their main focus was the water quality or the soil quality. But in this case, at the center, I can tell everyone at the center, our main focus is we are not as skilled with water quality and soil quality. That would be somebody that we'll have to bring on a partner or so that is something that the community kind of has to decide on what is the first thing that we are going to attend to. So some people may, within their own experiences, water quality might be something that is more important to them because they may see changes, they may see immediate changes within one, like if there's skin concerns or if they're ingesting the fish that they're eating, what are the levels of toxic levels of toxins, what are the levels of toxins within the river? However, with air quality, you don't actually always see these immediate effects, they're sometimes very long term. But because, sometimes everybody has to kind of get on board. So it takes, listening to community members and hearing what their grievances are and, us kind of speaking on, we can do this space, but we can also probably bring in a partner to help attend to this, even if it's not in our jurisdiction. Was that a little helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to bring it up only because this seems like a place where it's easy to stumble and have the initiative not get off the ground in the first place because you have such committed factions.
Mm-hmm.
And I was curious if you guys have run into that very seriously, where air quality is a concern, but to that point about water and soil quality, those are also prevailing concerns. And how do you navigate that effectively? I understand bringing partner organizations in, but is there a more polite way to tell people, wait your turn, we'll get to it? You know what I mean? Like, how do you navigate that? Like, we do have to have priorities here without being too brusque.
Right. And, I think if Dr. Wilson were here, he would probably honestly tell you that sometimes it's not easy. It really isn't easy sometimes. So there have been spaces where, naturally, again, community members may not be happy, happy with what's happening or the pace at what is happening, or may feel excluded sometimes, because if it's a big project, sometimes it's hard for everybody to win. And I don't want to say win because it's not about winning, but it's hard for everybody to be attended to. So that's why it's kind of important for before we, you go into the partnership, to ensure that everybody wants the same thing, or at least the similar direction. And then on the next, I think next two slides, I kind of discuss it, if everybody doesn't want to be a part of it, sometimes you can make a smaller community within that community that can be open to it. So for example, if all the churches that you spoken to and brought into this, if everybody didn't want to be a part of it, sometimes you can make a smaller group within that space. I mean, I know funding is kind of a, we have to ensure we're at a certain space, but that's kind of the idea. If everybody can't be on the same page, something has to adjust.
Right. So don't get too bogged down in trying to achieve consensus if you reach a point where it's not plausible. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think with us, it might be a bit trickier on that end. So I know everybody's generally kind of reaches a consensus, but there are times, naturally, again, because, people have different ideas, people have different thoughts, we're meant to be different. So, but it's great when, everybody understands. And I think with UCC and IPL, because you guys are, sorry, not you guys, but everyone has been already immersed within environmental justice or environmental things and climate change aspects, because you already understand or have an idea or surrounding a lot of different things that are plaguing communities. I think this partnership, it's easier for us to kind of all get on the same page, if that makes more sense. Yeah. So with people with maybe no background whatsoever, it might be a bit trickier because you're not always on the same page, and that's okay. But it does. Yeah, I think it's you have to listen. We have to listen a lot. So yeah, I hope I answered it well enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, so and this was another thing that is very important when you're building communities and wanting to going to an initiative with different communities. So building trust is extremely important. You want to be able to trust each other. You want to be able to trust the partners that you're going into this partnership with, especially if with smaller communities, you may not want to be taken advantage of. You want to make sure that, again, a lot of it kind of goes behind morals and what you stand for and what you're trying to build on and essentially build towards. So it's important to acknowledge history, in acknowledging the past and history of what may cause the need for this initiative. We are more deeply understanding of what the true cause of what needs to be accomplished. Also acknowledging power, understanding people of power in a community is important. So those who are leaders may manage and initiate moves, and these people need to be considered. So there should be leaders within the community initiative. sweat equity. So contribute, being able to contribute to others' activities without expecting some sort of nice compensation. I mean, a compensation obviously is helpful because everybody is also wanting to put that into their own initiatives, their own projects that are also helping support, for instance, helping support the church or helping support other programs within the church, um, but, definitely this is kind of just a generalized statement within this um, presentation. Socialization is also welcome. So warming up to different partners and leaders, sparking healthy conversation creates comfortability. We do kind of go into these workshops trying to ensure that it's more of a conversation and you don't necessarily feel like you're being spoken to or at. Definitely welcome all of your thoughts, all of your questions and concern. And, hopefully we can always address that and make you feel comfortable, but comfortability is a priority within this initiative and from our side at the center. And looking out as a good friend does, making sure that those in your community are doing okay. Community partners, leaders, and anyone involved, as I mentioned, must be able to build trust and have healthy relationships. It's almost like acts like a glue, and this helps bind the communities together. So funding. This is another key aspect of community science-based initiatives. Oftentimes, funding may come through bigger institutions or through the government. So community initiatives may also be funded through public charities, different donors, and foundations. The reason funding is important is because having a budget also allows resources to be implemented to support the goals the community initiatives can bring. It can also expand the goals of an initiative. Let's be real, let's be very honest, without money, a lot of our goals, a lot of the important work that needs to be done, it's limited. You can't accomplish everything. So that's also helpful within these initiatives. It's necessary, actually, not just helpful, necessary. Right. So this is, I know this slide kind of seems maybe a bit, like we've discussed this many times before, but as it is the last workshop on the center side, I kind of wanted to bring it back to moving into the air quality initiative. So monitoring of air quality, as we've said before, is extremely important, as having more data about the air that we are breathing provides us and the community with knowledge surrounding an important aspect of health. Applying what we learned so far about community health, we have used this to essentially start forming this air quality network within UCC and IPHealth network. And so this question is kind of rhetorical, but it's just to get the thoughts moving. We're just speaking about the initiative and it being creative and how we can actually move as a community to kind of get this going. So I did mention this earlier. Communities can also be formed separately. So so for an example, an organization wants to create an air quality initiative. First, everyone in this organization may not want to participate. A small community of this organization may take on the air quality initiative. So some questions you may ask is like, do they want to expand within the community? And if so, members can reach out to friends and families to promote and again, expand through social media and so on, and different different uses, different forums, different media spaces to spread the word and engage with different communities and different people. With a larger community, goals can start to become less broad, and the plans and goals can start to be taken on by more people. So, for example, within this air quality initiative, we have been having discussions about adding some New Jersey churches. So as we mentioned, expanding, making with a larger community, these goals can start to become less broad. So we're not only focusing on the DMV area and helping air quality efforts within this space, but oh wow, now we have a possibility to expand to New Jersey as well, to help two different spaces. Well, more than two, but you understand what I'm saying.
Before we move on, I have a question regarding your experience, because you mentioned using social media to expand the body of people that constitute the community that's organizing. Have you guys found social media to actually be an effective organizing tool, or is word of mouth still king?
Okay, so I will actually say, and again, it depends on what the project is. So it depends. Okay. So for example, I wouldn't say social media would be helpful with this space because we directly speak with you, and maybe social media might be helpful on your end for your network to see other churches, like for example, maybe like, oh wow, I didn't know about this. Maybe they didn't hear it by word of mouth, but they may have seen it and said, hey, let me see if we can be a part of this. For us within our spaces, so we do have, I think we've mentioned before, we do have an environmental justice podcast. So for example, if we do have to kind of promote or speak on certain like example, an upcoming, we've had our symposium. So we did use that environmental podcast, which is partnered with the WYPR station in Baltimore. We did use that to kind of help promote and push that. So for example, radio, the podcast is on radio. So that is another like demographic. But we also use our social media platforms, for instance, Twitter. We do have a better kind of, I guess, flow of people on Twitter versus like Facebook or let's say another one, Instagram. So we did ensure that we were promoting it on many different forums because it gets to different sets of people. So for radio might be, let's say, maybe an older, a more senior demographic. Twitter, I know there are a lot of like people in education or in grassroots groups or different agencies. That might be the best place to kind of get that. Facebook might actually be better for smaller groups, for groups that because you have Facebook group on, you can group on Twitter, versus, for example, Instagram isn't as interactive, I guess, for groups like that. So that's just an example.
Right. So you're saying when it comes to using social media, it's a diversity of tactics kind of thing, as opposed to having a Facebook page is good enough sort of thing?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, to be honest, unfortunately, I think that, and this might be a segue, but I think that social media is it's like a necessary evil in this time. I think it's sucking people right in. However, if you do want you want something to be heard, it's the best place to go to. If that makes sense, because people, we're getting taken over by all of this technology and people are being so sucked into it. However, if you want to be heard, a lot of the times, it's better to, if you do word of mouth, that's wonderful, but it's better to kind of bolster that support on social media as well. But again, it also depends on your, like, for example, your your members? Are your members on social media? Maybe not. Do they prefer kind of word of mouth, speaking with each other face to face? Then that, that works as well.
Mhm.
So yeah.
All right. Go where the people are, basically.
Yes. And I think, a lot of spaces, and I was lead on social media, and Noble is now, actually. So we do see a lot of the like engagement and what happens. But a lot of times, like in different like job postings and different organizations, they have a social media, specifically a social media manager, people who are specifically hired to do social media, because
Mhm.
if you know how to actually work it well, you will get engagement. People will see the message that you want to
Right.
I guess get out there or spread.
And I assume I admit I'm sort of a Luddite when it comes to social media. I assume there are guides on how to fuss with the algorithm to actually get it to do what you want. Um,
Yeah, there definitely are. Again, I was lead, but I'm not gonna act like I was the best. Like,
I gotcha.
I'm not gonna go and apply. I'm not gonna apply to be a social media manager. Do I know some ins and outs? Yes, but you can look up. You definitely can look up different guides to kind of beat the algorithm, or it's a little exhausting, not gonna lie, but yeah, you can. There are some how-tos on the
Okay.
internet out there.
There's hope for those of us who aren't pros yet.
Yeah, it's tiring. It is definitely tiring. But it's possible.
Okay.
Let's be positive in that space. Mhm.
Leaving aside the algorithms, this is Thane Martin. I'm a representative from Pilgrim Church in Wheaton, and we're really excited to get our Purple Air monitor.
Mhm.
Once we have it, we try to post social justice things on our
Mhm.
social media, but I want to make sure that we're speaking accurately and truthfully. I mean, one of the things that I've found really interesting about all of this is just understanding how few monitors there are that are operated by the government, and that they don't really tell us much. And
Mhm.
that, we're going to bolster so much more. The more that we participate, the better information we'll have.
Mhm.
But is anybody going to be able to just sort of help us a little bit about what sorts of things we should be posting? I don't want to get offline. I know you still have the rest of your presentation to give, but I just want to make sure that we're not going. I want to make sure that we're posting the right things once we're up
Mhm.
and running.
Mhm.
Oh, gotcha. Great question. I mean, I think we could probably maybe, I think a lot of the presentations have some things surrounding maybe questions, or maybe things that should or should not, I don't want to say should not be said, but I'm always open to, if you feel like there's something that might be iffy, I feel like you can probably shoot myself, or I'm gonna go out and say John an email, and we
Yeah.
can clarify. I'm not sure if that's too much work on your end, but I'd be happy to clarify if it needs clarifying.
Yeah. And I can volunteer myself, and in his absence, I can sort of volunteer Reverend Silver for this. I think as we get closer to putting air monitors in place, it would be a fairly easy lift for us to help put together some sort of outreach package, stuff that you can take from the presentations that we've done in the workshop, content that we've covered, that you can start to blast out. Like, for instance, that fact that there are so few government operated monitors, and this is going to make such a difference by so dramatically increasing the number of data points that we've got. I think that's a very easy thing to communicate through social media, just to pop something out there to be like, did you know that this is
Mhm.
the case?
Yep.
Because I think those can be real galvanizing things. Once people have that sort of information, it really has legs. they'll go tell
Mhm.
their friends and they'll tell their friends, and you start to get some sort of grassroots knowledge building there.
Terrific.
Yep,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
I didn't know if some of the things that in earlier sessions, some of the examples that were given, in Bladensburg and stuff, if those are confidential. I mean, those were really powerful. And so, maybe that might be
Mhm.
a more level of detail than we want to be, throwing on Instagram. But,
Mhm.
the idea that this stuff works.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Well, the Bladensburg example, so actually let me just stop sharing for a sec. Like a lot of it is on our Siege website. So by the time, I feel like by the time things are, I don't want to say completed, but once we've achieved a space and it's on like the website or out there, it's free, it's public knowledge, so it wouldn't be something that is confidential. We do have, let me see, we do have like, okay, so I'm gonna share my screen as well for our website. We do have an air quality sort of bucket or bin within the research space on our website. And so there's a lot of information here as well, um, different projects that we've done, different resources that could be helpful to kind of speak on if you'd like. But there's a plethora of information here. So we have like purple air monitoring here as well. Yeah, and so on. But again, just if you feel like, oh, you're a little worried or something, definitely reach out and think it could be clarified. But let me add this also to the chat just in case. Oh, okay, I will probably get back to the quiz.
Yeah, sorry to have pulled you
Yeah.
so dramatically off track for
No,
so
it's
long.
fine. I mean, I think, to be fair, this is exactly what this workshop is kind of about, community and us discussing. So, no worries. Your questions and discussion thoughts are always welcome. Okay, so I think, let me get back to it. Are we seeing it okay?
Yes, or
Okay.
I am at least.
Yeah, so I honestly, I feel like a lot of this might be a little redundant, but I think, when you're speaking about wanting to expand the community and once that has been, I guess, established, once the general idea has been established, you want to discuss like what is next and what else needs to be done within the community. So leaders making a more cohesive plan is very necessary. So as I mentioned, with a larger community, more work can be divided and more tasks can be accomplished. Glue becomes more important as goals and the initiative expands and more people within the community work together. So another thing you want to discuss is that what else is crucial as the goals strengthen and the community becomes larger. So that's another thought that you just want to think about when you move forward within the process. So again, I mentioned that funding is extremely important when we're speaking about community science. Even from within a community, expanding donors in the community may provide funding, but sometimes an initiative may need more funding if goals require it. So leaders can reach out to various organizations to increase this funding. You also want to be honest within this initiative, explaining the story of the community and potentially displaying prior work of the larger organization. That also reveals credibility. You know, again, building trust is of extreme importance. So these will always be green flags, and may allow for foundation funds and potentially even government organizations to fund the initiative. So for example, for an air quality initiative, it is necessary to be able to track air quality of a target area. And within this initiative right now, it will be the DMV and New Jersey region, I should say. These monitors, again, they can be costly. However, we know, again, we've discussed that we will be using the Purple Air Monitor. It is user-friendly, very, very accessible, able to use. And, you know, we have a relationship with the Purple Air community that allows us to kind of get a better rate to be able to bring these monitors to you. So again, it's about relationships, everybody being on board to kind of reach reach that goal that we've all set as a community moving forward. As I mentioned, extra funding may be needed. So contacting foundations and other organizations can be necessary. However, I do believe that within this initiative, for us, I don't think we would be doing that. I don't think we need that right now. But however, you know, you never know, and we will see, because I think we might be at a set amount of funding.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I know we spoke on a lot of things within the past few weeks. Definitely kind of want to have this, like, let the floor, like, you guys have the floor and, you know, speak on whatever you want to speak on. It doesn't have to be only focusing on the workshop. You know, please, your questions are very much welcome.
If I can ask one question, backing up to your point about GLUE becoming more important as goals and initiatives expand. That reads to me like a warning about mission creep, like not letting yourself get too far ahead of the wagon. Do you have any recommendation for us on how to manage that a little bit more effectively, where as the scope of what you're trying to achieve starts to balloon, I imagine it's difficult to quantify, but it feels like there's a benchmark for make sure everybody is on the same page to this degree before expanding. And maybe what a good benchmark to have in mind for that is.
Yeah, no worries. Definitely. Well, okay, so I think for me, when I was saying that, it was more of a, again, I think partnerships are different, right? So if I was speaking more on a space of, you know, Siege just going to maybe a specific town, you know, and maybe them having a town hall meeting, and not everybody's on board with, you know, some people are more, again, no trust, you know, there's no trust there. You don't know anything about Siege, you know, who are these, like, we are kind of infiltrating. Yes, we are wanting to help, but, you know, some people are apprehensive, there are levels to it. So I guess with respect to that, I guess I was just speaking more generally. But yeah, the GLUE, I think, I also mentioned, like, the importance of leaders. So for example, you know, Reverend Silver, you know, you all trust Reverend Silver, and he has been in discussions with Dr. Wilson as well. And, you know, I think that was what we were that's what I mean by the GLUE, you know, making sure that, okay, so you've already established that trust with Reverend Silver, and you know that he would not steer you in a negative direction. You all have some sort of connection, you know. So I think that's what I'm discussing. Like, that's what I'm speaking on, that GLUE.
Okay.
So essentially kind of coming into your community to create a bigger community. So the trust is, the trust may already be between Reverend Silver and the other churches you all have in the network, but we're building it with us as well. If I'm not sure if I'm saying it as well as I want to, or relaying my thoughts as best as I should, but that's kind of what I'm speaking on. Yeah.
I get what you're arguing, right? That we trust
Right.
him and he trusts you, therefore we trust you, like to do the step-by-step
Right.
math.
Yes. So you might be apprehensive and might be like, okay, well, I want to see what this is about. But, the trust also builds over these workshops. The trust also builds when you're actually hearing or knowing what it's about. Like, what are you going to do with this data? It being transparent about what the aim of this initiative is. That's important as well. So
Mhm.
there's no it's a win-win essentially, because Siege isn't actually, for this data, we aren't it's not how do I say this? I'm really trying to, sorry. It's a win-win situation. I should just say this. Yeah. It's not a one person winning and we're receiving this data and this is for us.
Right.
This is for all of us, not for Siege. If that makes sense.
It's not zero sum. In order for you to get something, we don't have to lose something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's in the grand scheme of things too. This is the data that will be taken is not for an individual's like purpose or individual's need. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm
I've been
so
asking a lot
sorry.
of questions.
Yeah, no, great questions. Definitely. You can keep on coming.
Yeah, no, I want to clear the floor. I feel like I'm hogging the space. If anybody else wants the mic, just feel free to yank it from me.
Hi, this is Linda Coyle. We've had all these trainings and we are about to do the walk around to make our video to send to you and then hopefully get our monitor in January or February, something like that. Once it's in place, we want to do a presentation for the church, and it would be great if we had a packet that or a sort of presentation outline to pull these different trainings together, because it's like, who are the different organizations involved in it? Why are we doing it? What do we hope to get out of it? How is our church involved? What are, and then a little bit of the science of air quality. And I look back through the notes, I'm like, yeah, we should talk about that, or we should talk about that. But it would be great to have sort of a succinct outline of what we can present to the church and what we hope to learn, and then be able to give them like periodic updates. So, like in 4 months, what are they finding with this air quality monitor? Is our air great? How do we compare to, X, Y, or Z? And what's the big picture for all of the air quality monitors? And are we heading for something where we would provide advocacy for legislation? I mean, the first step, I think, is to get the data before you can really make a case for legislation, but I would think that would be the end game. So just wondering if there's a possibility of getting some sort of tied together, succinct outline that we could present in like 50 minutes or something like that. That's all.
This is Robin. I'm sorry. Can I go or with somebody else?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, when we first began this project, one of the purposes of doing this is, of course, to gather data and to see and confirm, hypothesis and different things. But it was also to gather data for legislative purposes, ultimately being able to say, we have studied these places and we see this here. And even though your maps that you're using for environmental justice doesn't include certain variables, this is indicative. I mean, look at this. Look at what we got, So that is the purpose, and it may be some of the beginning, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the presentations that we put forth in the beginning probably have information explaining how we would use this data legislatively. Not in detail because we don't have it yet, but explaining how we would be able to use it. So that might be a place to look. If you've been on all of these calls, maybe some of the slides. I know my slide presentation included some of the legislative stuff we're going to do with this. But the challenge we have is until we get the data, you really can't speak to how it will completely help you until you see what you're looking at, right? I don't know if that makes sense to you guys.
No, we had talked also about doing periodic check-ins. When our timeline for installation was different, I think we had talked about doing one at year end just to be like, here's what we did in 2022. So we might have to adjust the timeline for when we're reporting back the first time, but that was sort of always the intent. And as far as a document that lays all that out, Robin's right. We have it piecemeal, but we don't have one succinct summary that'll do that job just yet. That doesn't mean we won't. I can put something like that together, but at present, I don't have like a handbook that I can hand off and be like, please show this to your congregations to let them know what this is and what we're doing with it. But that's something that's easily put together as we're moving forward, and I'd be happy to do something like that as we get there.
Yeah, I think that would be good, and even having some one pager ultimately that explains what we're doing, and all of that. I mean, that would be great. I'm also working with the AME church that is doing this too. I got pulled into yeah, which is fine. I love them. They're awesome. And I'll be working with them on theirs, and theirs is a little different, but we could probably work together to come up with something that we both can use.
Yeah.
In our congregations. Yeah.
And we also do have so for every workshop, there's been a session description, like a workshop description, which kind of summarizes what you're going to learn within each workshop. So that can also be helpful. I mean, it might be like a 7-page thing, but it's a nice summary. It's like half a page for each workshop, with a picture, an image, and then kind of saying what you will learn, etc. Speaks on, just summarizing each workshop.
Yeah, and John, you and I could talk about that because I see this expanding, and like I said, working with the AME church, maybe we can do something that is not specific to the denomination, but it is more talking about what we're doing, because we're both trying to obtain the same data. We're just going about it in a little different way. And I work interfaith, so I'm used to working across faiths. Okay, I'm UCC everybody, but I'm used to working with other faiths as well, so faith communities. So I think we should probably do something that can be replicated.
Right. It suffice it to say we've got all the pieces, but we haven't stitched the quilt together yet.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you bringing that up, Linda, because that's something that we do have on the back burner, is like, we should probably do that. And as we're getting down to the date, we actually have to do it now. So
right.
Thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah, keeping us on task, Linda. So cool.
No, it's simply that there's been, all these different workshops have little things floating through my head, but to organize it into a presentation is yet another thing. So just wondering if there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I mean, we're trying to make it through, but we haven't thought further. And I think, that's why you guys are here to say, hey, what about this? Hey, I think that's a great suggestion, and I think we're going to take heed to it.
Feeling much less stressed now because I was going to write something up for our newsletter tomorrow. And I'll just basically say more to come.
Yeah, that's better. The more to come is always it's always a way, right? Because it's a lot of data. I mean, all the stuff Ariel presented to us, and this is a lot of information. So it does need to be compiled.
Condensed, yeah.
It does, it does. And made simple and made an easy to read document. So that I think that'll be a step that we have to take. And I think it could be used in other settings and initiatives that, because I believe this is going to get bigger.
That's the hope, at least, that this serves as a pilot for us to expand it more broadly. So it only helps to have the materials on hand already as we're looking at expanding it. So.
Absolutely. So.
Okay. That is all I had for the presentation.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you. And a broader thank you for the past, 3 months worth of workshops that you guys have done. The technical expertise is really appreciated because this is not my area of specialty. You know what I mean? I'm familiar with the concept that air quality is bad, but like beyond that, the science of it, it's been very helpful to have some experts who do this on the daily and know the nitty-gritty details that they can come and share that with us so that we can get, a little bit closer to the goal of being informed. So that's been a real great help. And I speak for myself, and I would hope everybody else in saying that we really appreciate you guys doing that for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. You guys have been wonderful. So it was easy.
Oh, thank you. We love to hear we're good students.
Definitely. We are very excited to be moving forward with you guys, with you all. So, I'm one step closer. So sounds great.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the results. So like when we start getting data, that's just going to be really exciting. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, and we have one more workshop on the books. We're looking at maybe changing the date for it. So I'll let everybody know what we settle on as far as that's concerned. But we're going to be focusing on the basics of faith-based community organizing. So some of that stuff we were talking about tonight with, funding and the glue and who are your leaders that you trust that'll confer trust onto broader organizations and all that. We'll be diving into that in more depth with our last workshop in the series. So stay tuned for some details on that. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that's going to be helpful as we're looking at expanding beyond just doing air quality monitoring into turning the ECJ practice at the Justice and Witness Action Network into something that covers, the broader sweep of environmental and climate related issues. It'll be helpful for us all to get up to speed on how to be good community organizers in the churches and the communities in which we find ourselves. So, like I said, I'll have more details on that for you before too long. And I would keep your eyes peeled later tomorrow for a copy of the recording and a copy of the slides. I'll try to get that to you guys as fast as I can. Otherwise, though, I don't have any other announcements. So I'll offer it to you again, Robin, if you have anything you want to say before we head out into the rest of the evening and send everybody on their way. The floor is all yours.
I'm very excited about doing this, and I'm so excited that our church and others are going to be doing this and showing how the faith community is engaged in community work and also in environmental justice issues. This is just so important to me because I live and breathe EJ, and it's great that my church is one of the leaders in this realm. So thank you all and spread the word. Spread the word.
All right. And I think I should have given everybody the details on this, but we are awaiting anxiously with bated breath the recordings and the information on your different sites so that we can start doing like a pre-site visit look at what it is you've got going on where you are. So as you're able, let those filter in. I think that we've got a couple of them already that have been looking real good. So whenever it's, you know, convenient for you to do it before it gets to be too far from today, that would be very helpful. And we'll start doing our initial site visits and installations in the new year. So that all being said, have a good rest of your night, everybody. I don't want to keep you any longer. We're getting close to dinner hour here. So have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you at the next workshop.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right.
Bye. Thank you.